Hi, Millie.
Hi, Jennifer.
How are you today?
Thank you for having me over.
Yeah, I'm excited. Come on in. My name is Jennifer Basile. I was born and raised in New York. I did all of my undergraduate work here in Florida at University of Miami, grad work at Southern Illinois University. I'm a printmaker and I do mixed media work with my prints.
How long have you been in the studio? This is such a great space.
I've been here, I'm trying to remember, I want to say it's been about 4 years that I've been in here. And it's just shared space. I've had other artists on the other side over this time period. For a little period, I had the whole space. I was hoping I could do that. It was hard to financially maintain. But what I really love about the studio is that I'm a part of the Bird Road Art District. Jose Bailey also has a studio around here. So we're flexing muscle. And it's very close to my house. I also live about 5 minutes away here in Westchester. For a long time, I had a studio at the Bakehouse Art Complex for about 7 years.
That's right.
So yes. Yeah. And I had moved out of there because I had moved over to Westchester. I was teaching printmaking at Miami-Dade College. I've been teaching at Miami-Dade for 22 years. And I used the shop at the college for a while until I outgrew that. And I had an opportunity to have a shared space here in Bird Road. So I jumped for it.
Was it always printmaking for you?
No, I've always drawn and painted. So I had, growing up in New York, I was very fortunate in public school, a very, very engaged high school teacher that had us doing figure drawing and painting and a little bit of printmaking. I also did in high school, but I really leaned towards painting and drawing. When I moved to Florida, I went to Broward Community College and I did ceramics with John Foster over there. And I had the best time. I really got very engaged, and then I transferred to University of Miami, at which point I was doing painting and ceramics. And at some point, for some reason, as a junior, I decided I never wanted to throw another pot ever again. I just was not enjoying myself. And Professor Lisa Drost came to my painting studio and said to me, "You paint like a printmaker." And of course, I was 20 years old, so I had no idea what that meant. But I knew that I had to go take class with this new young printmaking professor that was at UM. And I did. And I pulled one print and I never looked back. That was the end. When I realized, it sort of hit me like a ton of bricks, all the different possibilities about printmaking. And the thing about printmaking that I think makes me the happiest is that it combines physical process, much like sculpture or ceramics, with steps involved, chemistry, different types of concerns in order to produce the work. But I still get to create the illusion on the flat surface, which has always fascinated me about painting and drawing.
Your colors are so vivid.
Thank you.
They're so incredible.
Thank you.
And I have to congratulate you because you are one of the artists that were awarded to put an artwork in the Justice Center in Miami.
Yes, the Osvaldo Justice Center. I was very excited to do that project. I was awarded the ceremonial courtroom, which also was just such an honor because that is the one place where you're either going to have a very high profile case, and it's also where lawyers become judges. So the back wall behind the justice's bench is an image of Florida sea grapes that was originally an illustration, a drawing that I had made, and then it was translated into a hand-cut glass mosaic tile project.
I saw it, and it's so impressive.
Thank you.
How long was it to do?
Well, doing an art in public places project takes a really long time from the time you're awarded it to the time it's completely finished. And that's because there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of contracts and legalese that needs to be taken care of. And in my case, I worked with a fabricator. So I didn't physically create the glass mosaic tile. The things that I did was I worked with the fabricator in terms of spending time down there, 2.5 hours picking out all the different colored tiles that I wanted him to use, bringing my original drawing and discussing with the fabricator what I'm looking for. And in this case, I was very fortunate because Mosaico Boutique, Ricardo, who owns that, really understood my work and what I was looking for in the work. It was hard to find another fabricator in this medium that could duplicate my weighted line quality, all of the transitions in my values in the drawing, and really understood what needed to be done. So I was grateful for that. It was a long project. It took forever. I had to do visits to the fabricator. We had to do a site visit together. But now that it's all said and done, I'm really quite proud of the project.
It's absolutely beautiful. Would you do mosaic again?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
For a public artwork, yes. Even though there are bumps and hiccups in these processes that sometimes I'm like, I never want to do it again. I mean, I would love to have the opportunity to have another area here in Miami to feature our ecosystem through a large glass mosaic tile piece. Sure.
You're also a part of LNS.
I am.
How long have you been with them?
I have been with LNS. Oh my God. Well, I started in 2017. So we're getting close to 10 years now. Yeah.
10 years.
Almost, right? We're at year 9. So yeah, that's how long I've been with them. And I actually met them through Bernice Steinbaum because I had done a commission piece for Bernice in her home, and they were visiting with her and they saw my work. It was a large scale relief cut that I mounted on her bathroom door. Because, if you know Bernice, then you know. Yes. And they saw that and they were blown away, especially Luisa Lignerolo. And they asked her if I was available, and she said, absolutely. And that's how that relationship got started. Actually, on my birthday is when I met them. Yeah, Bernice had a little birthday cake for me and had them there. And that's how I met them. And that's how our relationship got started.
It's such an impressive roster. I just interviewed William. Such an amazing group of artists.
Yes, I'm very proud to be in that gallery and to be with my colleagues. The work that they produce is tremendous and impactful and meaningful, and very much a part of this Miami community, and very much a part of the history we're making here in Miami as a contemporary art community.
How do you feel about the community here in Miami?
I love the. I'm super excited because you have to understand, I have lived in Florida for over 30 years here in Miami. So when I first got here, it was a little tiny art scene, and it's grown so much. And one of the things I do appreciate of recent is different institutions connecting to one another to really build a sense of community. I've been supported by Oolite Arts, as many have. The Miami Individual Artist Grants are super important to supporting the community. The Bakehouse has grown in a way I couldn't ever have imagined. I'm so proud to be an alumni of the Bakehouse. So I'm really excited about the community and the diversity in the art folks in the community as well. So,
and you're also a teacher.
I am. I'm a professor. I'm full professor at Miami-Dade College's Kendall campus.
Yeah.
And I've been teaching painting, drawing, and now printmaking there for 22 years.
How do you do it?
So,
how do you balance the teaching with your own research and your own work? Because I know it's a lot of work.
It's hard. One of the things I did was start shifting my emphasis from being an academic to just really pushing to being an artist that teaches. So because I've been there as long as I have, I've actually given up teaching my painting class and my printmaking class to some of our younger artists in the community, like Scheherazade Thenard, who totally deserves to be teaching painting right now. They're in their 30s. They're activating the students, and the paintings that are coming out of there are incredible. I've given my printmaking class to Charlisa Montrop, who also is a UM grad.
Hi, Charlie.
And she is so enjoying having this opportunity to teach. And I really feel, as a senior faculty member, it is important to give these courses to some of the young up-and-coming artists in this community that are winning awards and having shows and exhibitions, because they need a portfolio to apply for jobs. And also maybe it's possible that you're just transitioning your job to them when you retire. Maybe they are hired there. So that's one of the steps I took. I teach figure drawing. Drawing to me is paramount, is the most important thing as an artist. It is the one skill that I have spent my life's work really focusing on. So I'm very comfortable and very confident with teaching figure drawing class. So I teach a figure drawing class. I teach a drawing class in the afternoon. And I've been running the Kendall Campus Gallery on release time. So that's given me some flexibility. So there'll be a couple times in the term where it's like a fire drill because we're installing the show and I'm teaching and all of these things. And then the gallery is up and running. I try to teach Tuesdays and Thursdays and leave my Monday, Wednesday, and Friday open to be able to come to the studio. So I've always been a very highly disciplined individual, and that helps when being an artist, because it is a lot. It isn't just, we're going to go to the studio today and make a ton of work. It's applying for grants, applying for artist residencies, applying to galleries, applying to exhibitions, making appointments with curators. It's a lot, and if you're got a full-time job like I do, it's even more so, and I'm proud to say that both of my gallerists, both Sergio and Luisa, are always very proud of me because they're like, we use you as an example because you have a full-time job and you produce so much work. And I'm like, oh, thank you, and the place that comes from, producing a lot of work and being very busy, honestly, is my undergraduate degree at the University of Miami.
Can you show me your space?
Sure. I'll give you a little tour. This is my little office desk space here.
This is where you do the admin.
Yes, this is where I do admin work. This is also where I sit and think. So one of the things I've had to get comfortable with, and I think this is coming with age, is that I don't know if it's because I'm and I've discussed this with female artists and they say the same thing. I don't know if it's because I'm a woman. I don't know if it's with my age, but I'm always very hard on myself about what how much I'm accomplishing. Okay. Like, are you making enough work? Are you making enough work? And making work is not just the physical product that you have at the end. Making work involves sitting around in your studio, staring at your work, not knowing what to do, reading books because you're not sure what to do, getting resource, doing research. Troubleshooting, problem solving. Art is problem solving. I'm always telling my students that it's constant problem solving. It's just not a one-off and done. So that's what I do here. I sit and think, I do admin work. These are all my printmaking supplies. So I have a little bit of type A going on.
Okay, I do think you're organized.
Yeah, even though I'm a painter, printmakers tend to be a little bit type A in the organization department.
Yeah.
So these are all my print supplies. These are just the things on the wall behind me here are just.
Or your inspo, because
those postcards are old Florida postcards.
Yes.
My show card for my very first piece I made for LNS Gallery. Future projects are on the wall. My friends that have given me things like here, let's see, Carrie Phillips gave me this from her studio, and this little Ingrid Schindel gave me this little print block of a brayer, So I keep things in here that are from people that I care deeply about. Yes, oh my God, that opportunity from Oolite was unbelievable. It changed me. It's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. The fact that you have access to that museum like that every day. And sometimes artists would complain about the studio spaces, but the space to me never matters. Okay. It's what you're surrounded by.
So you're not bothered by large or small.
I ask for large, but I make stuff work. Make it work. We're problem solvers. Don't complain. Be grateful, first of all, that you even got the opportunity. You were selected to go. You're not paying for it. I mean, it was incredible. I wish, now that I'm alumni, I can apply to do it again. I may go back to Mass MoCA because being exposed to those contemporary artists like that Saul LeWitt show blew my mind, got me thinking in a lot of other types of directions. So,
is he one of your favorites?
He never was, but I have, it's interesting late in life. I'm having newfound respect for certain artists that when I was much younger, I was like, meh,
Right.
But yes, the graphite drawings on the wall was one of the most moving, some of the most moving pieces by him for me personally, because as I told you, I love to draw. I mean, even as of recent, I went with my mentor, I don't know if it was a year ago, we went to the Guggenheim to see the Alex Katz retrospective, because I've never been an Alex Katz fan. And when I saw those aluminum sculptures of those figures, I just was like, okay, you win, drop the mic. And yet another artist that never was really a part of my radar that now is, and it got me thinking about other things within my own work. My favorite artist is an artist here in Florida, Clyde Butcher. Because his photographs are so incredible, because he has the same interest that I do in capturing the light. Okay. And that's always been a big part of my work. You go and ask my undergraduate professors, they'll tell you I was obsessed with the Baroque movement in art history. Okay. Obsessed with how light moves through spaces, and can create these different types of illusions, So I'm a huge Clyde Butcher fan. He's the one that turned me on to the Everglades. And that was probably 10, 12 years ago that I started getting involved in the Everglades. Before that, I was doing mostly work about the Florida pines, like the Osceola National Forest. I visited there and done hiking there and research there. And then I started shifting to the Everglades. So, okay, this is the Queen Mary. This was Mary. And I acquired this from, the printmaking community is really large, but also really small. And I apologize, I don't remember the artist's last name, but there's only 3 of these in the United States. These were custom built presses. And the artist's name was Mary. And so the press was named Mary. Ingrid Schindel, who runs Miami Paper Museum, she had this press in her studio. And this is how I made some of those large scale works that I've had of recent that are 6 feet by 12 feet or 6 feet by 18 feet on this press. Ingrid has moved into the Bake House, my alma mater, and couldn't take this press. So I purchased it from her and I was so excited about it. And I got to tell you, I literally called Lisa Drost, my undergraduate alma mater professor, and said, I feel like I've graduated now because I actually have a press in my studio. And she said, congratulations, I'm so happy for you. So that's what this is. As you can see, I've got different prints laid out here that are extra prints from my solo show. And what I do with my extra prints is I start to paint or draw on them and transform them into yet another artwork. Even sometimes embroidering them. So right now they're just kind of sitting around and I have different ideas about things. These are actually tea towels, okay, that I made prints on, but I'm just experimenting right now because I've been thinking about different ways and different modalities to celebrate relief printmaking. And a large part of that is because I feel like I've done a lot with relief printmaking over the last 10 to 15 years in terms of mark making, scale. The last black and white or black and tan on rice paper print I made is right now at the Baker Museum in Naples in an exhibition called Entangled in the Mangroves. And it's a 10-foot by 28-foot print. And so each panel is one full panel, one full 10-foot tall sheet. It was very painful to do, but I did it and I printed it by hand. I hired my best friend's daughter to help me. She's also an artist, Adana Garot, and we printed that thing for a solo exhibition I had at LNS, and it's now traveling around. It's at the Baker, so I'm very, very proud of that. Very excited. If you're in Naples, please go to the museum. And my 11-foot alligator print is there, and a print on loan from one of my collectors of a great blue heron. So please, if you get out that way, and also that's a group show of Miami artists with some artists that we all know and love, and because they're just amazing, like Natalie Alfonso. In fact, her work runs right into the room that my work's in. We were very excited about that. We're Mass MoCA alumni together, so we're good friends. So please go see that.
So last time I came to see you, you told me you were incorporating fiber.
Yes.
Like threading.
Yes. So I have some examples over here. if you want to and then these are not finished pieces yet. You can see where I've embroidered the clouds in this piece. And I've started embroidering the grasses in the front. I had a residency at the Kimmel Harding Nelson Center in Nebraska. It was a fellowship residency. And, it wasn't the first residency in I guess, the bread belt of the United States. I also had a residency in Kansas. So the emphasis on fiber arts is much stronger there, I feel. Now, fiber arts has become a huge part of our fine art community. Thank God. I mean, stop this craft, and there's craft in this, in making this type of work. So I'm appreciating the blur of ordered hierarchy in art. But while I was out there, I started looking at a lot of this type of work, and I went to the Quilt Museum in Nebraska and saw those pieces. I was so inspired by their level of craftsmanship and detail, and just the idea of having another texture. So I'm like, I'm going to experiment with embroidering my prints, And it's funny because you don't make the connection right away of why you're doing things in the studio. You're just like, I'm going to do this today. And that's pretty much how it got started. And while I was at the residency, it was a writer that told me why I'm doing it. Because she asked me, she's like, how's it going in the studio? I'm like, I'm busy, busy, busy. I went down the street to the sewing basket run by these two little older women, wonderful, bought all their embroidery thread, and I'm embroidering, but I'm just not sure why, but I'm really enjoying it. She goes, well, it's probably because you're tired of drawing with the tools that you have. I mean, aren't you just drawing with the embroidery thread? And I was like, oh yeah, that is what I'm doing. God bless the writers that know how to put words to my feelings about things. So that's where it's playing a role in my work, and I'm excited. I've worked on stained papers before. I get paper. I stain them with different inks. You can see that in this piece as well, where I was staining with blues. I haven't done anything else to it yet. So I'm starting to combine a little bit of painting also with the prints, These are all the works I'm making alongside color reduction works that I'm really trying to push the envelope on that technique. But yeah, I'm really enjoying messing around with the excess prints that you make, because in order to have one perfect one, you must make multiple prints.
Yes.
And the interesting thing, or a thing I think is interesting about myself as a printmaker, is that I only make one of one. There is Yes, there is no edition. And it's not because I can't print an edition, because I went to grad school in the Midwest with one of those professors that wasn't graduating you until you learned lithography and you learned how to make 60 prints that were identical. So I know how to do it. But I think that might have been the death of me making editions because no one else has it. And it's a work on paper. And I think that the stigma of collecting work on paper as opposed to stuff on canvas should change. I mean, there's all kinds of beautiful works that are on paper by major artists that people should be collecting. And there's something just seductive about working on paper, and that's why artists choose it. So that's something to think about. I've been enjoying also working on canvas. I'm really good friends with Regina Gestro.
Oh, okay. I love her.
Yes, I've known her for over 20 years. And I was staining my paper and I thought, I'm going to take her workshop on how to do ice dyeing. So I went to her house and we started doing it, and then I loved it. And then I went back and did some more. And then I started printing on top of them. So that's what you're seeing here was ice dyed cotton canvas. And now I am painting on top of it with acrylic. It's midway, it's not finished work. And then I've already envisioned embroidery on that piece. So that has yet to come. The
concentration of colors that you get is incredible.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've had negative feedback about that. But I don't care.
Why?
I don't know. It's too much, and you know what? That's okay. Some people are too much. Some artists too much. I'm having fun experimenting with it and trying to figure out how to make it more quiet in places or more prominent in others.
But do you find that artists tend to keep their work the same for a reason? Like they just want to keep it the same just to not rock the boat? Or do you welcome experimentation every time?
I'm not the type of girl to repeat myself, obviously, because I won't even do an edition. So that'll tell you right there. And I love to experiment. And the reason why is because I was taught that, like I said earlier, at the U, great art is risk taking.
Yeah.
And they made us really tough. Darby Banner, may he rest in peace. He would come to critiques and he'd tell us, don't care what your work is about. Is it good? Is it of quality? Does it have these formal qualities that make an artwork sing? And I mean, it's a deep groove now that's never leaving. So when I go to the studio, most of the decisions I make are based on formalism, not necessarily on the content. The content is always there. It's underlying. It's how I feel about the landscape and the environment here in Florida and what we're doing to our planet. So that's always an underlying current. And what inspires me to photograph different places is really just the research and then the naturalists that I've gone out there with, the park rangers that I've gone out there with to educate me about the different ecosystems that exist in the Everglades. Because if you have not been to Everglades National Park, shame, you should go, because you will find that there are Florida pines there, hardwood hammocks, dwarfed cypress. So there's all the different elements of our ecosystem are all throughout that park as you go all the way down to Flamingo to the bay. So it's never ending for me. I don't know that I'm bored or I'll get tired. I've been talking about the ocean lately, so we'll see, but I'm not ready yet. Still have more to say about the Everglades. And even over here, you can see I'm midway with embroidering and thinking about different ways of incorporating it. Embroidery to me is about adornment. And so when I was looking up the history of embroidery, women were embroidering shirts and making them unique. So I was like, oh, that's what I'm trying to do with the prints. I'm trying to make them unique. And how cool would it be to embroider and sort of give this adornment to an aspect of the landscape? So that's sort of more or less where the rub is and the reason why I'm doing it.
At least for this, is so subtle.
Yes. And, I did practice proper embroidery technique as to not to insult my constituents that make this as their primary source of work. Really am trying very hard to make the embroidery appropriate instead of sloppy or mishandled. And I mean, I'm not ragging on anybody, but I am tired of the strings hanging down. So that's just me. Mm-hmm. It's not personal towards any artist. It's just for me. I don't like, I saw during Art Basel a lot of embroidery, but it was machine embroidery. So then I thought to myself, well, I can understand using a machine if you're making a very large scale piece, mm-hmm. but the whole premise of embroidery is the hands. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And that uniqueness of your hand and making sure the threads are lying flat, etc. So I was kind of disappointed in some of the embroidery I saw during Art Basel, especially when, the strings were just hanging off. I mean, it's to me, that's like now being a trend. Do the strings have a formal aspect? What is their function? You see, this is my UM brain. So I didn't find that often. I did find it some artists where the strings perform a function. They're in a pattern of light to dark, or they're on, they're mindfully put there. So that's kind of how I feel about artists incorporating this in their process. And for me personally, I'm really trying to pay homage to the traditional aspects of embroidering.
Yeah,
right.
This is a big piece.
Yes, this is going to be the first one I put on the Queen Mary. So I had wanted to put this in my last solo show, but I ran out of time because I was busy making a 6-foot by 18-foot color reduction. But this is called Portrait of a Tree. So this is a cypress tree from one of my various images, and this is going to be color reduced on rice paper, no background. I've already proven that I can do a value dipped background and then do the color print on top, but I sort of wanted it to be solemn you know, in a way, like, hey, you're going to just look at this tree. There's nothing else in the background. So I'm busy carving away the background right now so that I could do my first layer of color on the tree and on the grasses in the foreground. The tools that I use,
Yes.
So these are just different gauges. These are from Japan originally.
Oh, they're so beautiful.
They're sold by McLean's, okay, which I love them. They're the best. And I have a variety of different tools. I have student grade, I have professional grade, I have V gauges, U gauges, different widths for all the nooks and crannies, as I call it, that I have to get into. These are sharpening stones. And these tools are just, like I said, they are amazing. They perform really, really well. And the reason why I have so many with different types of handles is because of my hand. Like, you get tired of holding one style handle, so I'll grab a different tool that's the same gauge for what I'm doing, but I'll just go ahead and grab a different tool. So, and this is always the tool I'm the most proud of, because I use this on my 10-foot piece because this had to be special order. Look how wide that is, right? So these are forged in Japan. And then there's a gentleman here in the United States, Daniel Jassa, and I usually send my tools out to him to sharpen them. Mostly because I don't trust myself sharpening them perfectly, and he knows how. He was trained in Japan to sharpen these tools. He is the most impressive young man I've ever met.
How often do you do that?
It's time, because I just had a solo show, so I beat the crap out of them. As soon as I'm done with this, I'm going to be sending them out to be sharpened. You know, and it's also time consuming. So I rather be spending my time working on my other pieces that are not resolved yet, doing drawings, getting ideas for new works. So
how do you handle challenges that come your way?
What types of challenges?
Well, in terms of work or a process that you didn't think it was going to go a certain way, do you normally scrap, start over, problem solve?
No, I'm not so rigid that I'm like, this is not going right.
Really?
No.
That's confidence.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you have to have it, by the way.
I will say, this is not going right, so how am I going to make it different?
Yeah.
Okay. When it came to making that really large scale color print that I made, that was a lot of planning, and it was a lot of planning with Ingrid Schindel, because the level of skill that the two of us have is a powerhouse. Okay. And we were able to sit down, put my drawing into Photoshop, and literally go through all the layers and all the steps in order to produce that work. So I'll tell you, it was pretty crazy. I ended up using 27 different colors, and each block went through the press 9 times. So, and there were 6 blocks this size to make one image. So it was stressful and exciting, and I'm very sensitive, and I'm not too proud to say I'm a crier. So there was crying involved, but I just forged forward, you know, and it came out beautiful. It actually exceeded my expectations, and I'm not saying that as a bragger. I just never made anything like that before. I don't know. I would love a printmaker to say, hey, I have, you know, and have some dialogue. I keep looking around, but I'm not seeing it, you know. So
how important is it for artists to collaborate and make sure you have that relationship that you had?
I mean, I think it's important so you're not in a vacuum and in a bubble in your studio. I mean,
and that can happen. I
like my bubble being pierced, but I'm very specific about who I invite to my studio.
You are?
Yeah, I am. Like, because I don't mean to sound odd, but people have energy that they carry with them everywhere they go.
100%.
And so that's why I'm very decisive about who gets invited to the studio, my studio. I love to get out of my studio. I love to go to the exhibitions, the openings, artists that are like, hey, come by my studio. I'm going, you know, because I enjoy that. I enjoy the dialogue. I enjoy looking at something different. So that's sort of where I lie in those ideas. But
there any new experimentation that you're
Well, yeah, I mean,
materials that you really want to work with?
well, there's a piece on the press here that I had in my solo show. One of my collectors purchased this piece. This is an extra that I'm going to bang up and turn into something else, or maybe only use half of it. I haven't decided yet. But what I was excited about was I started using an electric press. I started using a letterpress, the Vandercook press. And that press will hold up to an 18 by 24 size wood block. And what I really liked about it was some of the restriction that was involved. Like the rollers are fixed. So you have to think about, is my block going vertically or horizontally? Because the rollers are fixed on that press. They're never changing. So that's kind of fun because I'm like, oh yeah, well, what if I put the block in this way? I'm going to put two different value blues on one end and the other. So I started playing a lot with having multiple values on the Vandercook press, and I'm having a really good time with it. So I'll get like 6 images ready to use that press, and I'll run all the blue layers on all 6 of those images. So it's kind of cool because it's expediting my process on smaller scale work, one of a kind, one of one still, and imposing restriction, which is kind of fun because, like I told you earlier, problem solving is my favorite part of being an artist, right? So
that's the part that usually frustrates a lot of people.
I don't.
And for you, you just gravitate towards it. You want it.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Oh, I'm very much, and I don't know. I really feel that a lot of the confidence that was put in me very, very young came from my high school teacher. Okay, and he was paramount. I mean, and not just him, but there was I had 2 high school art teachers that were really saw that I was very serious at a very young age, and they were putting the time in on me to build my confidence. And then when I got to the U, there were these very set ideals of, no, like, let's experiment. Darby was there. He's a baby abstract expressionist.
Yes.
And that was interesting. So I went from a place of studying figurative art and traditional process and underpainting and glazing and all, the traditional art techniques to now, you're going to throw this bucket of paint across the floor. I mean, I was 19, so I was like, yeah, it was very uncomfortable. But all those uncomfortable things happen at a very young age. So I got over myself. And then I was like, oh yeah? What happens if you do this? What happens if you do that? And that's a painter in the brain. You know what I'm saying? Not all printmakers are like that. A lot of printmakers are extremely rigid and methodical, and not in a bad way, in an amazing way. There are some printmakers' prints that I am blown away by over and over again. I mean, my biggest influences in printmaking are Karen Kuntz from Nebraska, Nancy Palmieri from Texas, and Lisa, of course. Lisa was making large prints when I was 20 years old, and nobody was doing it yet. 4 feet tall, 6 feet long, all this stuff. And I was like, wow, multiple layers, multiple mediums, lithography. I'm putting a litho down, then I'm silk screening, then I do it. And I was just like, wow, that's the impressionable age. So that's what really propelled me forward. I was exposed to those other women printmakers through her as well, and through my grad professor. And that was the end. I was like, these are the heroes for me.
What's next? Any residencies? You're working on a show.
Yes. I was taking a little break because I have this beautiful studio and I now have this beautiful press. Yes. So what's next for me is to continue to work on the Vandercook press at Miami Paper, because I'm proud to say that I am now an associate artist of the Bakehouse Art Complex, this alumni of Bakehouse. I'm going to pick up my fob on Monday. So that I can go over there and use the Vandercook press in Ingrid's shop.
It's incredible that they have that program, that they're offering that.
I'm a proud alumni. I was more than happy to join them and do the whole thing. So I'm super excited about that. So I'll be popping over to the Bakehouse a lot to use the electric press. And I'm going to be here in my studio using the Queen Mary quite a bit. I have, you can see there's a piece of blank linoleum on the wall here for the next drawing. I was
going to ask you this. Is this next?
Yes. There's going to be 2 6-footers coming off this press next. I'm having a blast with that. Often people ask me about the image itself. how it gets on there. This is how. I was taught to draw vertically. I cannot draw flat. So I nail the linoleum to the wall, and then I use graffiti markers to draw. Just, your typical average graffiti marker, a Malto,
These are thick. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess what happens is, as an artist, you should always be challenging yourself in your mediums. And so I love using broad, blunt objects to draw with, to challenge what's happening visually with space, okay, and volume, and conveying the light source and all of that. I'm really interested in creating a sort of abstract calligraphic mark. So, the other thing I was taught in undergraduate school, and I don't remember, I'm pretty sure it's Brian Curtis, because I took painting. He'd say, the painting should be interesting from a distance and when you get up close. And I'm like, oh, when you're young, you're like, oh, okay. And I worked on that for quite a while. So with prints, that can be a challenge, and especially with relief, because it's prescriptive, right? You have to cut it out. It tends to be more graphic. There are some amazing printmakers that do very graphic, very methodical cutting. Thomas Huck, for example. I mean, he blows me away with his craftsmanship, but that's not where I'm interested. Because I told you, I'm a painter. So I thought, how can I make a relief print interesting also up close without it being sort of very methodically cut? And so what I've been doing is making very calligraphic marks with very blunt tools, and then cutting those shapes out and being as specific as possible. Sometimes while I'm cutting, I go against what I drew, because I have the ability to think about what it's going to look like when it's printed. Okay. I know not every artist has that, and that's cool. But I'm always messing around with the drawing a little bit. It's never always right to the edge, or, it has to be this way. Sometimes accidentally I'll cut a mark out and go, oh, well, all right, I'm going to make another mark over here. So I do have a lot of flexibility within that. And I think it is keeping my prints interesting. I think it's fun to step back from an 18-foot long print and see Loop Road in the Florida Everglades in the summertime from one side to the other in a panoramic shot, and then get up close and see millions of abstract marks that convey that one image. So that's my push in printmaking. I want to be the printmaker that makes really large scale color reduction prints now, because I said everything I had to say in black and white. I mean, I think 10 feet by 28 feet should be enough, and see where we go with that. I am also very proud to say that last Art Basel, George and Darlene Perez did the honor of buying my very first color reduction, which was a 6x12 that I also made at Miami Paper with Ingrid. And my heart was swollen, because I was like, wow, these folks know their stuff.
Yes.
They see what I'm trying to do, and they were smart enough to buy the first one on this mission that I'm going on right now.
Amazing.
So yeah, it was pretty amazing. And if you want to see it, by the way, it's at El Espacio right now.
Yes.
So please go by and see the exhibition at El Espacio, and let me know what your thoughts on my Instagram, and DM me.
Yes.
I'm open.
All information will be down below.
Exactly.
What's your one advice to emerging artists, or to students, or anybody that's trying to get into the arts? Anything you wish you were told?
I wish I was told a little bit more about what to do when I got out of school. Like, what is it that I'm supposed to be doing right now? I really wasn't told what I was supposed to be doing until I got my job at Miami-Dade College. And I was part-time there. I got hired full-time I was 29. So I started teaching there at 27. And I was fortunate enough to work for Robert Huff, a major important artist here in the foundation of our history in Miami. And I said to him, I would cry in his office. I'm very sensitive. And I'd say, what am I supposed to be doing? He goes, it's okay. You got to apply to the Florida Consortium grant. You have to apply, to art in public places. You have to apply to artist residencies. You have to. So I was so grateful. No one had ever said, hey, by the way, when you get out of school, all the writing that you had to do is going to be really important because you're also going to be applying for grants. So I think there's a little disconnect still in the academy with fine art. I feel like they should connect a little bit more to the School of Business. I really, really do, because teaching artists basic economy things, how to make their $20,000 artwork they sold stretch for 6 to 7 months is important. So those kinds of ideas, those kinds of concepts, just even a course, and here's what you're supposed to be doing when you're done with school. Here's how to do that. When I think now, Oolite Arts had a workshop on how to apply for the Pollock-Krasner grant.
Yeah.
And that was one, thank you, Oolite. I mean, I learned so much so fast when he said to me, you guys have to stop writing an academic proposal for what you want. Just tell us what you want. I was like, I thought you were judging me on how I was conveying my thoughts. You really just want to know why I need the money. So that was helpful. And the second most helpful thing is stop putting your education at the top of your resume. No one cares. They want to know where your solo shows were and your group shows, period. And then your awards, accomplishments below that, then your education. Change my whole resume around. So those are some tips I have for you. It's hard when you get out of school, especially undergrad, but there are plenty of artist residencies that are specifically looking for young folks. So I would start looking while you're in school at these residencies, like Vermont Studio Center. And because of your age, they have funding for you. So take advantage and don't think that you can't get in. That's the other thing. Have confidence. Make the work. Be disciplined about making the work. Whether it's physical, sitting in your studio, you don't make anything and you read a book, it doesn't matter. Put the time in, make the work, believe in yourself, okay? And then apply. There's a famous photo of a female artist laying on top of a stack of rejections. I probably could have the same photo of myself. So don't let any of the rejections get you down either. You just keep applying, keep applying. I don't know how many times I've been rejected from UCross. I don't care. I'm going to keep applying, okay? Because you never know who is on the committee. The committees change at all these residencies all the time. And I've gone to some incredible ones. Virginia Center for the Creative Arts, Cambridge Center for the Creative Arts and Sciences, all on fellowships, by the way. I went to Vermont Studio Center as well. So I went to Mass MoCA. So just keep applying, just keep throwing it out there, keep making the work. Make solid, healthy friend connections in the art community, artists that have healthy habits. I think it's important. I think we underestimate how important it is to be professional as an artist.
Yes.
And I know just from my personal experience that Bernice, Luisa, and Sergio, anyone I've ever had to deal with is very grateful for my professionalism. On time, do the work on time. Get everything that's you're asking me for in on time.
Get me your images.
Yes. So I think that's another pro tip for youngsters getting out there in the market. So and don't worry about going to grad school right away. Some undergraduates graduate and they just go from residency to residency to residency. And then people ask me, how do you do that? You have to apply to 30 of them. Okay. Because recently I was on a residency spree. Like I got one after another. I had 2 within 1 year. I did the studios of Key West. 10 out of 10 recommend. 10 out of 10 recommend that residency. So you have to apply to a lot of them. It is a financial investment. See if you can get a grant. See if you can use some scholarship money from school. I don't know. Make it work for you. But I've run into all kinds of artists in their 20s that are doing that. There's also opportunities to work at residencies. They have positions at Anderson Ranch, at Vermont Studio Center, where you work for the institution. They give you a studio, they give you living quarters, and they give you meals, okay? So some do, some don't. But those are places that you can start if you're confused about whether you want to go to grad school or not. Grad school's not for everybody. Grad school is like, I definitely want to be teaching at the college level. I got to go to grad school. I knew I wanted to teach. And I knew I wanted to study printmaking at length, in depth. So that's why I went. But it's not a fit for everybody. You do not have to go to graduate school to be a successful artist. There are all kinds of artists in this community with bachelors of fine arts degrees that have dedicated and devoted the time that's necessary to have an art career. So that's my best advice. Just stay strong.
Jennifer, this was so wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this opportunity to talk at my alma mater, the U, and I'm so still in love with. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to leave Jennifer's info below. Contact her if you're curious.
All right. Thank you so much, Millie.